Hi, my name is Joshua Viguers. I'm doing a project on the fairness in child custody agreements in the United States. We're going to be analyzing the practices and in the impact of the custody system on families in the United States. So, first thing to look at. With this research, I hope to learn about the fundamental reasons for presentation aims to analyze the practices of the child custody system in the United States and to evaluate the fairness and investigate sociological factors that influence these practices. So, an overview of the child custody in the United States. So, in the US, child custody determination is primarily guided by the principle of the child's best interest. All considerations are meant to be made with the child's health and well being in mind. Legal custody can be defined as the ability for a guardian to control important aspects of a child's life. Medical care, religion, fashion, and many other aspects are handled by the primary custodial parent or guardian. Physical custody can refer to who the child may reside with, whether they have the rights to the child care or not. The primary custodial parent is defined as the parent with whom the child spends most of their time with and is the parent who handles most of the day-to-day affairs. Child support encompasses financial contributions from a non-custodial parent to help cover a child's living expenses, education, and healthcare. These definitions can assist in the understanding of how disagreements or inequalities can occur. Implications from the custody arrangement span entire families and can alter the mental and physical health of the child. So these inequalities are detrimental to the family in a whole. All right, the importance of fairness in the custody system. Fairness in child custody affects not only parental rights, but also a child's emotional and psychological well-being. An equitable system can ensure that the child or children maintain stable relationships with both parents, which promotes better health for the child and parents. Issues of fairness identified by custodial parents related to, for example, the underestimation of the child, cost rearing, particularly as related to medical and healthcare costs, and a lack of accountability on the part of obligors, who are alleged to be able to hide sources of income or underemployed or failed to report increases in income. Issues of fairness identified by non-custodial parents related to, for example, the treatment of parenting time and shared parenting arrangements, the inadequacy of the self-support reserve, and the lack of consideration for other children. So issues related to finance and support can create large inequities in opinions. By ensuring fairness in the court system, tensions and stressors can be minimized for all parties involved. So my primary questions that I wanted to find out and have answered for this research project um, kind of were based around fairness, trying to be non-biased. So question number one, are the current child custody laws perceived as fair? I just want to make sure that on both sides, they are perceived as fair or are they not perceived as fair? Question two, is either party penalized more than the other, non-custodial or custodial, meaning whether the party is a male, female of a different race or in a different socioeconomic class? Are they penalized for being the non-custodial parent or the custodial parent? Question three, what issues can occur due to custody orders? So just in general, what inequities or what issues can happen that can cause stress or tension in the family? And then in extreme cases, should there be different rules or the same rules for normal cases? How would you draw the line? Meaning for cases where there is abuse, neglect, or other maybe criminal factors involved, would you treat it the same way as a dad who's done nothing wrong? Would you treat it a completely different way? And where would you draw the line? How would you know where to start? Question five, how is the court system assisting or benefiting all parties, including the children of the custody arrangement? Meaning, just how is the court or government able to assist families, and are they actively trying to better the system, or is this something that is just deep set into the government or the court system? Okay, so for the literature review, I had a few pieces of literature from different perspectives in sociology. The first one being the critical perspective. So uh, tran- uh, uh, from a piece of literature from Emery, Otto, and Donahue, says we see the system for resolving custody disputes is deeply flawed for reasons that go beyond the problem of limited science. The coupling of the vague best interests of the child test with the American adversary system of justice puts judges in the position of trying to perform an impossible task, and it exacerbates parental conflict and problems in parenting and co-parenting, which psychological science clearly shows to be key factors predicting children's psychological difficulties in response to the parents' separation and divorce. So, critical analysis of the custody system in the past has led to the discovery of bias and unfair psychological tests. Reform is highly recommended to improve or reconstruct the current practices. Psychological harm would reduce due to these changes. So, in that article, they go on to say how they recommend reform in order to change these issues within the system, therefore, it being a critical perspective, coming at it from a negative point of view and then offering solutions to change that system. We also have symbolic interactionist perspective. These two perspectives were the main perspectives that I saw in most articles. So it says here from an article from Vogel, Dennis, and Kita in 2022, perspectives on the reality of fairness differed substantially within and across groups and reflected differences in how participants conceptualized fairness and whose vantage point they took. Perceptions of fairness at key junctures raised important issues related to referrals, communication, accessibility, and enforcement strategies. Visions for improving the system varied, though perspectives also broadly converged in several key domains, including a desire for a more family-centered, holistic model, more personalized service delivery and communication, child support services more narrowly aimed at families who want and need them, and more connections to mediation and legal resources. This review of the custody experience shows how custodial, non-custodial, and child support staff feel about the child support system and custodial process. 39 parties were interviewed individually with the general consensus that the child support is needed and benefits the child primarily. Opinions and feelings about the monitoring of the systems and other aspects of child custody differed. Most agreed on positive family interactions instead of separation. So although they came from different sides, they are, although they came from different sides, they are all basically agreeing on the same fact, which is child support is supposed to benefit the child, and the custody systems would benefit from different rules. There are other sociological theories that I saw, such as structural functionalism and social exchange theory. They offer ideas to understand the behavior of families in custody situations from different perspectives. Functionalism mainly is just providing how the different aspects of custody and child support affect families and what they're there for. Social exchange theory is more so just offering a different perspective in general. These theories help clarify how societal norms and expectations shape legal decisions and parental relationships in custody cases. Past studies reveal persistent biases or difference of opinion in child custody decisions, with preference often given to the traditional family structures. Research has shown that these biases can negatively impact non-custodial parents and sometimes the custodial parent as well, leading to calls for reform in the custody process. So that's just from the previous literature that I had read. So this was my methodology and findings, or the kind of research that I did on those articles. So my hypothesis is that the current child custody practices in the US are perceived as unfair by parents across all socioeconomic backgrounds, and they lead to negative impacts on the family dynamic and child well-being. I do not believe every decision is going to be based off the best interest of the child, and other theories will be recommended in the current system's place, meaning it's going to be recommendations for improvement. So my target population was mainly subjects from secondary data analysis from different studies that they had conducted. So the populations assessed that were custodial and non-custodial parents, childcare staff, children of the custody disputes from these different cases. The sample included mostly journal articles, excerpts, and book paragraphs from different sociological perspectives, as I had shown before. Information from peer-reviewed studies were assessed and analyzed and then conveyed through their studies. So I use secondary data analysis for the most part. That was my primary method of attaining unbiased information. And due to the personal hardships or relationships with people experiencing the issues, personal interviews would not have been an accurate way to acquire information. I tried to do an anonymous survey, but due to the sources where I was posting, it still was not anonymous. There was still some bias. So, the perception of fairness on child custody and child support is skewed. Opinions may be based on socioeconomic status, past experiences, or relationships. Court systems are progressing towards equality and better practices. However, prejudice and bias is still a concern in most populations. Custodial parents still control majority of the child-parent relationships, and this is a major factor in court decisions. Non-custodial parents without restrictions face challenges financially and socially. Any restrictions or other allegations may limit the capabilities of the parent. Court systems are starting to assume both parties are equal until adequate testing can be done to evaluate the status of the family. Government programs are available for parents with custody-related issues such as abuse centers, child care programs, and assistance with basic necessities. Views on child support range, but participants in studies commented on the needs for considerations for different situations. So that's kind of the research that I found from those articles that answered some of my questions that I wanted to discover. So some of the limitations and ethical considerations that I had thought about. So I am a non-custodial parent. In my court arrangement, I pay the child support. I am the payer. So this may impact the literature. However, I did try to remain impartial to any empirical evidence that was analyzed. My sample size was broad and I was not able to gather data from every population or point of view. And if I had to redo the assignment, I would choose a specific topic within child support to analyze. Ethicality was ensured by analyzing secondary sources with peer-reviewed research and studies. Even with some exceptions, these studies are conducted under strict conditions or complete anonymity. Summary: opinions about child custody disputes and child support arrangements are different depending on circumstance. Due to this and practices that are outdated or prejudiced, families struggled with the inequalities and the expenses. The children suffered due to the multiple aspects of the custody order. Reform is needed to ensure fairness in the court system. Holistic family approach is recommended instead of a hostile environment. Better testing, monitoring, family involvement, child support considerations could all improve the parent-child relationship of both parties. And here are my citations. And that is all. Thank you very much.